digital platform activated. Father, with your permission, can I begin the program? Good morning. Adab, Sat Sri Akal and Vanakkam. Mr. Xavier Ahmed Khan, Honorable Minister for Disaster Management, Government of West Bengal. Mr. Xavier Ahmed Khan, Honorable Minister for Disaster Management, Government of West Bengal. Mr. Johar Sharkar, former IAS and CEO of Prasar Bharati. Dr. Amit Kosh, Head Department of Urology, Apollo Gleneagles Hospital, Kolkata. Dr. Panchali Shen, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science and Dean of International Studies and Program. Dr. Rituparna Basu, Associate Professor, International Management Institute, Kolkata. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Father John Felix Raj. Honorable Pro-Vice Chancellor, Father Sebastian Raj. Respected Registrar, Professor Ashish Mitra. Respected Deans, Reverend Fathers, Sisters, faculty members, and my dear students of this great abode of learning, and all our well-wishers on the digital platform. The Society of Jesus was founded in 1540 by Ignatius of Loyola and his companions in celebrating Ignatian year throughout the globe. So the Society of Jesus throughout the globe is celebrating Ignatian year. The mission of the Jesuit is mission of justice, reconciliation, working so that men and women can be reconciled with God, with themselves, with each other, and with God's creation. St. Ignatius, in his early years, had dreams of personal honor and fame. All that began to change one day in the spring of 1521. Leading his fellow fighters into a battle against the French, he was struck by a cannonball in the leg. During a difficult recovery, he chanced upon books on life of Christ and biographies of saints, and he found these unexpectedly reverting. We have assembled this morning as the Xaverian family on the feast of St. Ignatius of Loyola to pay our homage to our founder, St. Ignatius. We have all dignitaries here with us. They have taken out time from their busy schedule. Johar sir has to rush to Delhi, a prospective candidate for the Rajya Sabha. We wish him all the best in advance. And of course, he is flanked by our very own minister, Mr. Xavier Ahmed Khan, who has played a very extensive innings in West Bengal and who has done a dramatic work in my locality, Koshba constituency. And of course, we have the architect of St. Xavier's University, Father Felix Raj, also with us. He is being flanked by Dr. Rituparna, a young, promising professor, in fact, teaching in International Management Institute. And our very own Dr. Panchali Sen is also with us. And my colleague, senior colleague, Dr. Amit Kosh, we too share, in fact, the same birthday, 18th October. So we are true liberals. So I make it a point that on 18th October, when people wish me, I should wish also Dr. Amit Kosh. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. Now, I would like to request Reverend Father Susai Nayakam, Associate Dean, Department of Commerce and Management, to lead us in prayer. So kindly rise. Father Susai Nayakam will be leading us in prayer. Before we begin any proceeding, we make it a point to thank God for this wonderful day, for this wonderful people, and for this wonderful moment. With God, everything is possible. Without God, nothing is possible. So Father Susai Nayakam, please.
As followers of St. Ignatius, we recite the same prayer of St. Ignatius for generosity. I shall ask all of you to join me. If you have a prayer with me, please take the prayer and join with me reciting together. For a moment, let's keep recalling ourselves in the presence of God. Let us say together, Lord, teach me to be generous. Together, we'll say together. Teach me to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heal the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labor and not to ask for reward, save that of knowing that I do your will. Almighty God, bless each one of us as we gather together. Help us to be in your presence and share our thoughts with a community gathered together. Thank you, Lord.
Kindly remain standing. Thank you, Father. We shall be observing 1 minute silence as a mark of respect and gratitude to Reverend Father Stan Swami, a prophet of modern times, for his life of service to the poor and marginalized, who breathed his last on July 5th, 2021. He planted the seed of hope so many, when he said, a caged bird can still sing. So we'll observe silence for a minute. Thank you so much. Kindly be seated. We'll be playing a video for the Ignatian Year program, shall be shown to us. An array of program has been planned for this Ignatian Year, so we'll be playing a video now. Kindly bear with us, there are some technical glitches. So we'll come back to the, video presentation later. St. Xavier's University, Kolkata, under the dynamic leadership of Father John Felix Raj, Honorable Vice Chancellor, is blessed to host this milestone event. May I request the stamp in the field of academic, Father John Felix Raj, Honorable Vice Chancellor, St. Xavier's University, Kolkata, to kindly deliver the welcome address.
Respected panelists, Honorable Minister Mr. Javed Khan, Honorable Rajya Sabha Speaker, Rajya Sabha Member, would-be Rajya Sabha Member, Mr. Javed, my good friend Today's panelists, as we know, the three of them, men, are our alumni who have passed through our own institution of St. Xavier's College. And also the two ladies, the alumni, who have also passed through St. Xavier's College. We are very grateful to them, and I want to express our gratitude on your behalf. We are celebrating, as the MC said, the Ignatian year all over the world. On this special occasion of Ignatian year, we have organized this panel discussion on a very relevant and a personal theme: Jesuit education and its influence on us. And I'm sure the sharings of our panelists will definitely inspire us, strengthen us, and deepen our association with this institution and our commitment to service especially in the field of education. The Jesuit Educational Initiative is the largest one in the private sector in the world today. There are 15,000 Jesuits all over the world. They are all engaged in about 4,000 educational institutions of various types. Schools, colleges, universities, communication centers, with 141,000 students, teachers, and 3.15 million students. Perhaps the best quality education in our country is imparted by the Jesuits, who conduct 66 university colleges, including 2 universities, one in Bhubaneswar and one in Kolkata, 18 institutes of business administration, and 200 high schools spread throughout the country, almost all of them, like St. Xavier's Kolkata, St. Xavier's Mumbai, St. Xavier's Ranchi, Loyola Chennai, XLRA Jamshedpur, XIMB Bhubaneswar, among the most reputed ones. In them, more than 410,000 students belonging to various religious, linguistic, and socio-economic groups receive their education under the mentorship of around 12,300 teachers. Jesuits have contributed immensely through education and research to the character building of India and other Asian countries, where they have secured a place of pride and prominence for themselves. Their vision and mission have formed men and women for others. Their contributions have been time and again applauded by the leaders, philosophers, thinkers, educationists, and people of this country, and have become milestones in the history of enlightenment of races through cultural and spiritual upliftment. What makes the Jesuit education unique? What makes it so much in demand? Why is it sought out brand everywhere? Whether it be in the United States, or it be in Europe, or it be in India, or it be any Asian country. Let me just highlight a few salient aspects. The Jesuit spirituality that is inherent in the system of Jesuit education. Jesuit education is rooted in the Ignatian spirituality and Ignatian charism that ensures the divine presence and divine providence in every Jesuit institution. Jesuit educational characteristics, which are based on definite Ignatian pedagogy paradigm, what we call IPP. And these characteristics are, as we know well, AMDG, ad majorem Dei gloriam, for the greater glory of God. Whatever we do, and this is something very unique to a Jesuit institution, whether we are in the classroom to study, or whether we are on the play field to play, or whether we are on the marketplace to buy something, or whether we are on the road walking, or in the car driving, whatever we do throughout the 24 hours of the day, we do it for the greater glory of God. We do it in the name of God. And that's what St. Ignatius teaches us. And that is the motto of the Jesuits. The second is the margis that follows this motto. Greater and greater. Greater service to greater number of people through our institution. And that is what is our own motto, nihil ultra, nothing beyond. The third aspect is cura personalis, that in every Jesuit institution there must be personal care, of every student and every member of the institution. And the Jesuit institution emphasizes intellectual competence, openness to growth, participatory and collaborative approach to administration and decision making, a preferential option for the poor and the marginalized, a service rooted in faith and in justice, an interreligious environment, a social conscience, and so on. That is why we are familiar with the Jesuit dictum. Give us your son or daughter, we shall return to you a citizen of the country and a child of God. Jesuit legacy and reputation are well known, historically cultivated over the past 4.5 centuries. Today, India is at a tipping point of change where 600 million smart youth of this country make up the world's largest cohort of young people. Over 356 million, that is about 28%, are between the age group 10 and 24. Today, youth is India's asset. India is known as one of the youthful countries in the world. As the golden statement of the new education policy 2020 states, there is no better investment towards a society's future than the high quality education of our young people. And this is with this spirit we are organizing this panel discussion. Once again, I want to extend a warm welcome to our panelists, and I want to thank them on behalf of St. Xavier's University for their presence in our midst. And I'm sure today will be a fruitful day to all of us. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Father, thank you so much for those inspiring words. Give me your sons and daughters. We will make them responsible citizens of the country as well as child of God. So we'll be, in fact, playing the video. We'll just showcase the various events that has been planned for the Ignatian year. Thank you. So this was, in fact, a short synopsis of the events that we have planned for the Ignatian year. Now I would like to request the Honorable Minister, Mr. Xavier, Honorable Minister for Disaster Management, to please come on stage. Mr. Johor Sarkar, former IAS and CEO of Prasar Bharati. Dr. Amit Kosh, please. Dr. Panchali Shen, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science, Dean of International Studies, Dr. Ritporna Basu, our very own beloved Father John Felix Raj, Vice Chancellor, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Father Sebastian Raj. So all the delegates are seated on the dais. Atithi Deva Bhava, guest is God. We Indians are known for our hospitality across the globe. It is part of the code of conduct for Indian culture. For us, guest is equivalent to God. So now we'll be felicitating the delegates on the dais. Father John Felix Raj, Honorable Vice Chancellor, is requested to felicitate Honorable Minister for Disaster Management, Mr. Javed Ahmad Khan, please. May I request Father Sebastian Raj, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, to kindly come on stage and felicitate Sri Johor Sarkar, former IAS and CEO Prasar Bharati. Thank you, Father. May I request Professor Ashish Mitra, respected registrar, to felicitate Honorable Dr. Amit Kosh, a celebrated urologist at Apollo Gleneagles Hospital, Kolkata. Thank you, sir. May I request Dr. Indru Kanto Moitro, Acting Controller of Examination, to felicitate Dr. Panchali Shen, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science and Dean of International Studies and Programs in Xavier's Autonomous College, Kolkata. Thank you, sir. May I request Dr. Tuhin Utsav Pal, Assistant Registrar, to felicitate Dr. Rituparna Basu, Associate Professor, International Management Institute, Kolkata. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request Father Molin Fernando, Assistant Professor, Xavier Business School, and convener of this event, to spread the fragrance of this panel discussion. So, over to Father Molin Fernando.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Reverend Father John Felix Raj SJ, Honorable dignitaries on the dais, it's a privilege and honor to have you all for the panel discussion today. Without a cannonball moment, there would be no Ignatius of Loyola, and therefore no Society of Jesus. Without the Society of Jesus, there would be no St. Xavier's University and what we are today. The values of Jesuit education are rooted in the vision of St. Ignatius, the founder of the Jesuit order, whose feast we celebrate today. These values prepare our students to be wiser and more compassionate as they take next step in their life's journey as men and women for others. Jesuit education, therefore, is based on a 450 years old tradition that aims to form high school, college and university students intellectually, morally and spiritually toward lives of solidarity, service and professional success. Now I would like to invite the panel members to share their insights on Jesuit education and its influence in their lives. It's a humble request to all the panelists to keep their sharing up to 10 to 12 minutes. May I invite Professor Shiny Saha to introduce our first speaker.
inform the audience that there is a slight change in the sequence of panelists. Sri Jawahar Sarkar is on his way to Delhi today. Hence, Sir will share his insights with us first. Sir is a public intellectual based out of Kolkata, who utilizes his experience of over 41 years in public administration to stand up for citizens' rights and for multiculturalism. He has headed India's Cultural Ministry from November 2008 to February 2012, the longest for any secretary. He has represented India in top international organizations, including the UNESCO, and he speaks regularly and writes on public issues relating to the conservation of heritage. He was the CEO of India's public broadcaster, Prasar Bharati, from 2012 till 2016. He studied at the universities of Kolkata, Presidency, Cambridge and Sussex, and has 2 master's degrees in history and sociology. His main field work has been on social history, popular religion, and the cult of Dharma Thakur in West Bengal. Sir has published numerous articles on cultural, historical, and anthropological studies for several years in books, as also in noted national and international journals and newspapers. The Asiatic Society of Kolkata has conferred its Biman Bihari Memorial Award on him for his contribution to popularizing the study of history and politics. From 2017 to 2020, he has also chaired the Board of Governors of the prestigious Center for Studies in Social Sciences, Kolkata, one of India's top 5 social science research and teaching institutes. Sir was, in fact, its first non-academic chairman in its half-century history. As an IAS officer, Sir has served in the sectors of finance, commerce, and industries for 17 years, and in public communication, that is in the administration of education, culture, and media. He was honored by the British Museum with a silver medal for piloting museum reforms in the country. The former President of India has publicly complimented him as an outstanding performer and visionary, while the former Prime Minister described him, and I quote, one of India's most distinguished civil servants. We welcome you, sir.
Well, it's still good morning. Father Felix Raj, my friend Mr. Javed Ahmed Khan, Minister, my more useful friend, not come to full use till now, Professor Dr. Amit Kosh. You know, life is a journey which begins with physicians, moves on to gynecologists, then to pediatricians, through heart surgeons, to urologists. That's the journey of life. So he knows that finally you have to come to me. So Amit and I keep cultivating him. Professor Sen and Rituparna, Professor Basu. Okay. It's always nice to be here, and I had no idea that it would be so difficult to come. Actually, I was looking at my watch because the moment it turns 1:10, Saturday 1:10, it will be exactly 1 week when my life changed altogether. I have maintained what is called a healthy disdain for politics. A very healthy disdain for politics, but at 1:10 I got a call last Saturday about this Rajya Sabha seat. They have a lot of choices, very senior ministers and others, but anyway, they chose, and since then the storm is still on. I have to keep rushing, Calcutta, Delhi, Calcutta, Delhi. Okay,
sheer numbers, I had an idea that it was one of the biggest. Now, with this number comes a quality. And if you want to see one of the finest examples of how to make a disaster something else, incidentally, when I was sitting next to Xavier, I was wondering, Father Knight called me a disaster, and he is Minister for Disaster Management. So I was trying to figure out whether there is, the father, we had a Father Knight who ultimately migrated to, I think, Australia. He called me a disaster, which I remember. My memories of St. Xavier's are so strong, St. Xavier's school mainly, but are so strong that I have never missed an occasion to celebrate it. For teachers, whom I have forgotten to acknowledge, teachers, Reverend Fathers and others, if ever you come across a hopeless case, remember me. I was more hopeless than anybody else, and I put it on record. It's there in black and white as one of the pretty popular story. Somehow passing class 6, Father Debrude, who was then my guide, used to wonder, he used to just nod his head. I've hardly seen a more dignified gentleman in my life. Father Boucher, whose task was to give me a cane swipe once every week, and I would proudly show my report card all red, C, 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 C. You know, we had those grades, A, B were in blue and C was in red. And my friend would take it off and say, let's see, how could you manage to get so many C's? I said, don't ask me. So it went on like this. And in the meantime, I remember the amount of frustration teachers had, fathers had. I can name any number of them. Father Boucher was most concerned. And then I landed up. I failed in class 8, which is a very interesting thing because I have 2 batches to claim my alumni. The senior batch disowns me, the batch with which I studied from class 2. They said, no, you chokde ho bache. So they have one batch, Raju Mukherjee and others, and then the next batch with which I passed. So 2 batches of alumni. But what I'm trying to say in between is that they never gave up hope. Any other school would have given me multiple TCs. Multiple. I mean, not that Father Vedica did not try. He actually called my father and told him that I am seriously thinking of giving him a TC. Father said, stop thinking seriously about it. So it went on that way. And the person who completely changed my life, I have enshrined, is Father Gilson. He came in for a few weeks, stepped into the room, decided not to treat me as a problem case, and somehow got me interested into studies. And within a short time, I became something of a character that I had kept at a distance. You know what character you keep at a distance? The mugging type, the topper type, that useless, boring types. So I became a bit of that. Just like I have kept the political type at a distance, and now I'm going to become political type, whether I like it or not. So life has its own twists and turns, but in between, St. Xavier's has been a rock-like institution, but it's not only academic proficiency. The strength of character, I don't know this about myself, but I do know about a lot of others, that I was taught very early and very subconsciously brought into a set of morals that has stood me well. Whenever we feel frustrated, and it's been a tough life, I can assure you, I don't know what's lying ahead, but it's been a tough one. And there have been times when one could win underhand, you know, those options were open. Somehow one did take that choice. When he took that path. Never hit an enemy whose sword has been knocked off his hand. Allow him to get up. Small things. I remember I used to stand near the football field because A, it was too crowded, B, I was so lean that it could blow me off. And I felt that I had no contribution to the football team. So I mean, football was mad, 42 on this side and 64 on the other side. Beautiful. Father would come and give me one thump on the back and say, "Yeah, go. Oh, and I didn't know which side I was playing for anyway. So it happened, but you do it. I remember before senior Cambridge, while some of the teachers took me up as some sort of a hope for the college school ranking, and I didn't disappoint them. Father Bushel ended up saying that, come, there was an inter-house match or something, 2 days before the exam. So nothing. You don't need to do both. Any case, so these are many of the examples, and the example that I remember is that sometimes I used to feel ill, and there was an infirmary. And in that infirmary, I was there shaking with a crocin or whatever. 1 or 2 fathers would come and inquire. That arriving in your house, if you have not come to school for 3 days, oh God, you won't get this thing anyway. Being in direct touch with your father, who of course shared father's opinion that I was a disaster, but keeping open the lines of communication and then changing. And when people talk of Jesuit education being this and that and Christian education, I might like to remind my friends that some of the most important leaders of the ruling regime had all taken missionary education. I am naming them: Al-Katwani, Arun Jaitley, Smriti Irani, Vasundhara Raje, Piyush Goyal, and go on naming. So now don't turn back for politics and start doing politics. You are a product of that. Learn to acknowledge it with humility. I take this opportunity to thank the fathers, pay my utter respect to St. Ignatius Loyola and to the Jesuit institution that he has created, that has done wonders for the world. With these words, I will take your leave, but I will go straight down this way, if you don't mind.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable inputs to our panel discussion today. The second panelist for the day is Shri Javed Ahmed Khan. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce sir. Shri Javed Ahmed Khan is an Indian politician and the present Honorable Minister for Disaster Management in the Government of West Bengal. Sir was also the member of West Bengal Legislative Assembly from Baliganj Vidhan Sabha constituency from 2006 to 2011. He is a long-standing politician and also a social worker. Sir has completed Bachelor of Commerce from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata in 1978 and got involved in public service. He has also served as a councillor of Ward number 66 from 1995 to 2010. In addition, from the year 2002 till 2005, he was sworn in as the member, Mayor and Council Head of the Kolkata Municipal Corporation. We welcome you, sir.
just noon. So very good afternoon to all the teaching and non-teaching knowledge seekers and torchbearers of the Xavier family. My greeting and good wishes amidst the ensuing pandemic to everyone here. Respected Father Felix Raj, the man behind the scene, and I have great respect for him as he carries on with his vision and what we are today, I think, of the Xaverian family and Xaverian matters. We have with us here Professor Dr. Amit Kosh. We have Professor Dr. Panchali Sen, Associate Professor Ritupanna, and distinguished guests all of you here. I am really grateful here today, at least at the feast of Saint Ignatius. Thank you for having me over. I stand here today not in the capacity of Javed Khan, Minister of Disaster Management and Civil Defense, but as a Xaverian, a proud Xaverian, nihil ultra, and salutation to my Xaverian family. Our temple of learning, which I was associated in my school and college days, St. Xavier College, Kolkata, named after the St. Francis Xavier, a Spanish Jewish saint of the 16th century, was founded in 1860, formed by St. Ignatius of Loyola. This college then is not just a seat of education, but the epitome of rich history and heritage. Like we all know, in 2006, St. Xavier College went to become first autonomous college in West Bengal. Needless to say, the institute is synonymous to a leader and has always been progressive in its vision and approach. It is then easy to understand the psyche of the progressive behavior as an institution was founded by a Catholic minority religious body, the Society of Jesus. While preference is definitely shown to the educational and cultural needs of the Christian minority community, alongside the socially and financially marginalized, admission here is open to all irrespective of caste, creed and nationality. I am known for my secular and progressive temperament, but little do people know where that comes from. Well, it is a result of studying from the world-class institution that is St. Xavier's. Just the realization that one has walked the same corridors as Jagdish Chandra Bose, Rabindranath Tagore, Surendranath Tagore, Muhammad Hamid Ansari, Utpal Dutt, amid such stalwarts is enough for an adrenaline rush. Whenever I have met someone noteworthy in my any gatherings in the city, needless to mention, has always been a Xaverian. We feel proud when we meet anyone that they belong to the same family as I belong. In fact, just by silently observing the monument that is paused and stand tall at Park Street, and we had their Father Felix Raj also, and I come to know him from there long time ago. And we thank him because where we stand today at this St. Xavier University, it is his hard work which has become a milestone and a landmark in the city of Kolkata. One can appreciate a host of emotion. For example, if one was to look at the crest outside the premises, it has stood guard since 1905. In this world that is constantly in a flux, evolving and changing, it is not ordinary when we speak the Bothell's Library, located above the college chapel. It houses some of the oldest periodicals, journals and books. Treasures one inherited by Jesus' fathers in 1908. From then the Archbishop of Kolkata, Paul Gothels as a St. Jesus. That then is not a mere library but a custodian of time itself. The crest, the library go on to impart value of preservation. They teach us about valuing the old while embracing the new. And though we have spoken about what is old, let me speak about what is new. Well, not too long ago, the Bachelorate of Commerce department here was only accessible to the men. If I were to reduce pragmatically the compartmentalization of women studying arts was indeed logical, keeping the then socio-economic landscape in mind. While women were confined to the house, raising children and partaking domestic responsibility. But as the evolutionary landscape changed, so did the appreciation of the institution. For the college took an informed decision of opening its gates to women. And that is the time I remember when Father Julius was there. He was very much against making St. Xavier's College and that also Commerce Department a college allowing girls or women to be a part of the students and co-education learnings. For the college took an informed decision opening its gates to women wanting to study commerce. For trade and commerce was no longer a dominant, exclusive to the men. And that made us sit up and witness the Department of Commerce evening session becoming co-educational with equal representation and equity for women. So this is what I call the progressive outlook, where the old seamlessly merges with the new in a bid to grow, to inspire and to lead. Lead by example, lead by creating more leaders. Jesus' education is life transforming and this can be watched by millions globally, for it is based on a 450-year-old tradition that aims at intellect building, moral development and spiritual upliftment. Apart from mundane academics, the emphasis rests on community service, interdisciplinary courses and engagement of faith with theology and philosophy. This form of education shapes the mind and soul into a habit of reaching out to the needs of the global society. This education at my alma mater made me who I am today. It transformed my persona and made me compassionate and an agent of change. Giving comes easy to me now because of the foundation, the root that this institution gave me. I am a fruit of those roots. When I had enough, I grew my table longer than fencing up. True to its motto of nihil ultra, Jesus' education instilled in me a deep sense of social justice, a unique perspective from which I began viewing the world, particularly what life is like at the margin of society. It is this perspective that made me a public servant, wanting to work for the masses with a desire to serve and uplift them from common goodness. Today, as I stand here with my creased foreheads of many summers, I can just affirm I have had a rewarding life with deeply nourishing career that taught me how to share what life and God gave me wonderful. I hope more and more people get the opportunity of studying from a Jewish institution because its tradition is like riding a bicycle or swimming because you cannot unlearn that. Every day I repeat, every single day when I go to the community kitchen in my constituency to feed the lesser fortunate, I am guided by the Jewish principle of asking the why. It is not about serving 500 plates of rice and pulses and vegetables. It is about asking why those people are hungry. It is about addressing the systemic issue and really win it for the long run, committed to that issue. I wish and pray that more and more people get to imbibe the spirit of Jewish education, for that is the roadmap, the blueprint to making the world a better place. I thank Father Felix Raj for giving me this opportunity to be here today amongst you and sharing my views here. I think every Xavier is proud to be associated with Xavier University or any university or any colleges which imbibes good teaching. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. It is an honor to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Amit Kosh. Sir is one of the eminent urologists presently working as a consultant at the Apollo Clinical Hospitals, Kolkata. The completion of his schooling made him a Xavier. He graduated from Calcutta Medical College and then completed his post-graduation to get the MS degree with the University Gold Medal. He then earned his fellowship of the Royal College of Surgeons, Edinburgh, and then went on to get a diploma in urology from the University College in London. He worked at various centres in England, London, Midlands, and finally Oxford. After a long stay away from home, he decided to return to Kolkata and transfer the technology. Sir has vast experience in all aspects of urology, which has given him the advantage in excelling in robotic surgery. He is one of the leading robotic kidney surgeons and has successfully completed more than 50,000 surgeries. He has attended various seminars and conferences in various parts of the country and abroad. He is currently the chairman of health at the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry and a prominent member of the Urological Society of India. He is a man to face the world with high values and simple life. We welcome you, sir.
Good afternoon, I suppose. Father Felix Raj, all fathers, teachers, respected panelists, friends and colleagues. First of all, thank you all, particularly Father Felix Raj, to have me in this very important historic function celebrating Saint Ignatius. I think my attitude is I've come here with a purpose. I cannot give a lecture on Jesuit education better than Father Felix Raj, but what I can do is share my thoughts with you, the younger generation, so that the baton passes on. First of all, let me take a step backwards and tell you what is education. Education is not reading, writing, and exams. Education is actually developing the power of thinking, developing your brain and the thought process. Education is the biggest vitamin that the brain can have. Education, the hand of education rocks the cradle of civilization to make this planet a better place to live in. So it is education which defines the Human Development Index, of which it is a major component. I leave it up to you to judge the ranking of the Human Development Index of our country and hence the status of education. I think that is not the topic for discussion today. The topic for discussion today is Jesuit education. But historically speaking, we must realize that education is not a new concept. It has been here for thousands of years and started its journey maybe somewhere in the Middle East, either in Egypt or in Mesopotamia or in China. And there has been leaders like Confucius who have been very prominent in trying to enhance the role of education in human civilization. But less than 500 years ago, Saint Ignatius gave this education a new dimension. Education gives you the power to think. Education gives you the power to build your own body and your soul. St. Ignatius and the Jesuit Society gave it the new dimension of actually nourishing the soul of human beings. That is the difference. That is what makes Jesuit education completely different from any other education that I at least know of. At the very beginning in the welcome address, the Vice Chancellor spoke about Jesuit education and its different components. But I think what I will do through my life and my career, I will narrate some anecdotes which will make each and everyone understand what the value of this is. At the very tender age of 5, I got inducted into Jesuit education without regret at Short Street, St. Xavier's. Through prayers and through the culture of writing on every paper of our exercise book, ad majorem Dei gloriam, that was the dictum. The Jesuits taught me the presence of the Almighty, and that is what governs our entire life, but with a difference. As classmates, I had Hindus, Christians, Sikhs and Muslims, but never identified them on the basis of religion. Our only identity was being a classmate and a human being. I owe this, in my tender age, I owe this concept that has been drilled and nurtured into my blood to the Jesuits, who never actually tried to make me a Christian. Yes, I had classes in Bible, classes in moral science, but it was the Jesuits, Father Boucher, who actually in the moral science class taught me the Gita. And that is the difference. They never tried to make me a Christian, but they tried to imbibe this thought that we have the Almighty governing us. I gradually grew and passed on from the Short Street to Park Street. I'll tell you an interesting episode. At the class 6 level, at the end when the annual report came out, I scored very badly in history. I just passed. 34 was the pass mark. And I probably got somewhere in the early 40s, which hurt my ego and slipped me from the first position to the second position. I convinced my father to line up to the headmaster where there was an opportunity to review. After a long queue when I reached, with my father, and my father narrated the story to the late Father Veticat, who was the headmaster at the time. I'm talking about, primitive times. This was late 60s. He heard the story, and the report card was opened like this. He turned it around and told my father and me that we in St. Xavier's only educate pupils to make them future citizens of India, future leaders. We are not into the game of producing firsts in class. Understood? That is the lesson of the Jesuit teaching. I left medical college, stepped into Calcutta medical, I left St. Xavier's school, proceeded on to building a career in Calcutta Medical College, came out with flying colors, but the attraction of Jesuit education and the campus of St. Xavier's was in my blood. When I started my internship, which was a mandatory period of 1 year of training, I used to get a stipend of 400 rupees in 1981. Would you believe I was so charged up, like many other Xavierians, I'm not the only one. I started the ex-students Alsop Clinic, and every Sunday of that year, after I finished work, from 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock, I used to buy 400 rupees worth of medicines to distribute it to free to all the Park Circus underprivileged children and parents and families. And I still remember the smile on their faces. That gratitude is something you will never forget. That contribution to society is something which Jesuits taught me. I left the shores of India to join the NHS in the United Kingdom. One of my stations was, in training, was organ transplantation in Oxford John Radcliffe Churchill Hospital. I'll tell you a story, you'll be astounded. One night, after the kidney transplantation was over, I was in charge of the evening. 8 o'clock in the evening, this patient, when he woke up, called me and said, "Doctor," and he was a white man, I'm not being racist, he's a white intellectual who's got a kidney transplantation, asked me this question, "Doctor, I just came to know you transplanted a black Muslim kidney in me?" I was horrified with this question. With the backdrop of the education that I had, my prowess was, I could convince this man who could not be convinced by any other nursing staff or counselors. I convinced him after 3 or 4 hours that kidney doesn't have a color. It's a human kidney. It's not a pig's kidney. It's not a Muslim. There's nothing called a Muslim kidney, nothing called a white kidney, nothing called a black kidney. This illustrates the fact that I imbibed this power and this confidence that was imbibed in me by the Jesuits, and I proudly today remember that day when I convinced him that religion does not matter. And also reminds me even today, religion in this real world, whether it is in India or abroad, still is creating havoc all over the world because it is ingrained within us. I returned after my training, started my career in Kolkata and built up this service in Kolkata in urology. But then, again, my attraction for the Jesuit education was so great that at the turn of the millennium, I organized an international Xaverian meet on the River Thames with 200 Xaverians from all over the world. But that was to enjoy. The side effect of it was, and the objective of it was, to raise funds for the underprivileged people, and we created and boosted up the Titley School inside the campus of St. Xavier's. So that's the way the Jesuits have taught me to think. Days have rolled on. I have become now a senior citizen, above 60, with comorbidities. But now comes the call of a human disaster, COVID. You all know how all doctors have rose up to the occasion, sacrificed 1,000 lives in this country to treat human beings and the disaster. I'll tell you one last story. At the peak of the COVID, I had a patient who suffered from bladder cancer and needed the whole bladder to be removed for a 6-hour operation. He telephoned me when everything was paralyzed in the city and said that I need the operation, but I need it by you. I said, it is not possible. I am recommending somebody to get this operation done because your life may be in danger, my life will also be in danger. This guy did not listen. At that time, when our whole doctor's family are holding each and every doctor's from going to the hospital, the family urged me to respond to this, and my inner conscience told me I have to respond. I operated at the peak level of COVID in Kolkata, and we did a 6-hour operation. I stayed in the hospital for 12 hours. That patient was completely cured. I was satisfied. That is, remembering the Jesuit teaching, we are meant for others. Let's not be so selfish. These are little anecdotes that maybe the new generation will embrace as examples that what exactly Jesuit education is. It is actually nihil ultra, nothing beyond. I do not know any other education that can match this. In conclusion, Jesuit education is outstanding. In this society, which is soaked in corruption, communalization, and criminalization, the three great C's, we need to respond as human beings. We need to be leaders. We need to be torchbearers so that we have a better world. There is no point in despair. And that is what the Jesuits have teaching me. Thank you very much for having a patient listening. And I think this is my tribute in my personal way to St. Ignatius. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an enlightening speech. It is a privilege to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Panchalisha. Ma'am joined as a faculty at the Xavier College, Kolkata in 1993. She is an associate professor and the former head of Political Science Department. Ma'am is presently the Dean, International Studies Program of the college. She is also the coordinator for the Human Rights and Duties Education course supported by the UGC. She is functioning as the academic collaborator in the MHRD Government of India project on public administration with the Educational Multimedia Research Center. Ma'am has participated in various national and international conferences and has a number of publications to her credit. Her areas of interest and teaching include international relations, comparative politics, political sociology, and public administration.
A very good afternoon to one and all present. Reverend Father Dr. John Felix Raj, S.J., Vice Chancellor, St. Xavier's University, Kolkata. Reverend Father Dr. Sebastian Raj, Pro-Vice Chancellor, St. Xavier's University, Kolkata. All other Reverend Fathers and Sisters present in this hall. Distinguished panelists present today. Respected Registrar, Professor Ashish Mithru. All my dear colleagues, teaching and support, and all the alumni members present in this August hall today. At St. Xavier's, the search for the light of knowledge that illuminates the soul has been perennial. It is my honor to be present here with all you blessed minds, and I'm thankful to Reverend Father Vice Chancellor for giving me this opportunity today to share my experience of being with the Jesuits and influenced by them in my life for, I would say, 3 plus 28 years. 3 years of being a student in St. Xavier's College and 28 years as a teacher in the Department of Political Science. When I was a student of the 1986-89 batch, Father Albert Huart, in whose hall I'm standing here today to deliver this presentation, he was not only the vice principal of the college, but was also my teacher in political science department. He opened the horizons of Western political thought for us undergraduates. Lucid in his deliberations making the difficult domain understandable. We loved the way he spoke and guided all of us. He was a Belgian, an Indian, and a Bengali, for all of us who knew him. From the very first day of my college, and this is a few of the anecdotes I wish to share with all of you here today. We all know about the first day of the college. We have an inauguration ceremony. I caught his attention, luckily, as I was maybe clad in a sari and maybe the only one in the medley of the students. So he called me and another male student to distribute flowers to those sitting on the dais when the program started. Thus began a long association with Reverend Father Watt. He introduced me, while I was a student then, to another great human being, Father Gerard Babu Beckers. He was very fondly referred to as Babu by all who knew him. I began occasionally visiting and meeting Father Beckers on Father Watt's insistence, and got infused to this new world of social service that Father Beckers was completely absorbed in. Father Beckers, as we all know, the old students present, we would all know that he conducted camps during holidays and also social service visits to villages. So these camps exposed the urban students like us to the poverty of rural India. It was a tremendous learning experience for us who got an opportunity to participate in those social work daily visits or the camps organized during holidays. Being a student at St. Xavier's, initially for those 3 years and then as a teacher, I have had the privilege to know many Jesuit priests, some of them as my principal and vice principal. I would definitely like to mention their name today. Late Father Joseph de Souza, he was the principal when I was a student as well as when I initially joined in 1993 as a teacher, followed by Reverend Father P.C. Matthew, Reverend Father Patrick Eaton, he was the vice principal, Reverend Father Felix Raj, once again as my principal, and my present institutional head, Reverend Dr. Dominic Xavier. From my deliberations and interactions with them over the years, I have imbibed certain values which has transformed me as a person. The value of discipline, regularity, commitment, kindness, and humility. Fathers have always shown the path of labor and not to ask for reward. Under the leadership of the Jesuit fathers, any teacher at St. Xavier's automatically begins to establish his or her own identity and move beyond self-interest in relationship with others. The constant motivation by the priests has empowered me to think and achieve the mission in the spirit of Majis, greater service to greater number of people. After working for 28 long years at St. Xavier's College, I realized a transformation in my personality, an openness to growth, a habit of reflection of my own experience. In talking about the influence of the Jesuits on my life, I want to specially mention about the responsibility entrusted onto me by my then principal, Reverend Father Felix Raj, in the year 2013. He appointed me as the Dean of a new department that was created at St. Xavier's College, the Department of International Studies and Programs. It was a new challenge with a lot of opportunities. Father had faith in me, and I'm thankful to him for giving me new learning and sharing opportunities. The year 2015 has been very special in my life. Father Felix Raj, as my principal, gave me the opportunity to visit the University of Namur at Belgium, with whom we had a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which Father had signed. So I was to visit Namur and operationalize the memorandum. As I started planning for the visit, Father one day told me about his decision to lead the visit. Needless to say, I was overwhelmed. I traveled with Father and learned from him the way to conduct oneself in an international meeting. The visit to Namur had another big attraction for me. The opportunity to meet Reverend Father Albert Huat. Father Huat by that time had left India and gone back to his home at Namur because of his failing eyesight. So I never dreamt that I would get the opportunity to meet him in person once again. But it happened finally because of Father Felix Raj. And I could spend a few days talking to Father Huat in his room at Namur over several issues and reading some Bengali passages to him. He sent his blessings to all at St. Xavier's. That was the last I saw Father Huat. He passed away on the 5th of September 2018, and we Xaverians lost our loving and caring Jesuit teacher. So to keep it short, there are many anecdotes. I can share a whole lot because I have been fortunate enough over the last 28 years to feel the presence of the priests in my life on several occasions, on some personal occasions also. But all I wish to say by way of concluding is that the need to understand the Ignatian values of Magis, that is greater service to greater number of people, and cura personalis, the personal touch that Father also mentioned in his welcome address today, and a sense of divineness in whatever we do, in the greater glory of God. I'm thankful to all the Jesuit priests in my life. I'm thankful to Almighty God for giving me the opportunity to spend most of the fruitful years of my life, the working period of my life, in the presence of Jesuit priests, and I have been fortunate to receive their blessings. Today, on the auspicious occasion of the feast of St. Ignatius of Loyola, this is my tribute to my teachers and the Jesuit priests whose presence I have always felt in my life. Thank you everyone, and once again, thank you, Father.
for your valuable words. I am pleased to introduce the last speaker of the session, Dr. Rituparna Basu. Dr. Basu is an internationally acclaimed academician and researcher in the domain of marketing and retail. She is particularly known for her practice-led research across a wide range of topics such as retail, sports marketing, and children as consumers that is already making an impact across the global academic fraternity. Dr. Basu is an alumnus of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, and holds a BSc degree with Economics Honors. She also has a gold medal to her credit for her Masters in Business Administration. She completed her PhD in Management from IIT Kharagpur. Ma'am is also a high-impact corporate trainer and has delivered several training sessions in sales and communication at companies like Bengal Ambuja, CESC, PCBL, and others. As a researcher, she has authored several research papers in international journals of repute. She has authored award-winning teaching cases that are available on Harvard Business School publishing indexes. We welcome you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Reverend Father Vice Chancellor, Father Pro Vice Chancellor, Registrar Sir, all my revered Jesuit fathers, sisters, members of faculty, staff, students, and my most esteemed fellow Xaverians on and off the dais. I feel immensely blessed today as I stand here on this August day to celebrate the Ignatian year, sharing my experiences and associations with Jesuit education, which has pretty much shaped the person that I am today. Albert Einstein had famously said that education is what remains when one has forgotten what they had learned in school. Perhaps what he meant was education is deeper than you think. And in that line, I truly believe that real education is one which empowers us to think on our own and bring out the uniqueness in each one of us. So if I were to recount on the influence of Jesuit education in my life, I feel that the unique quality of Jesuit education lies in its inherent character of touching lives outside and beyond the classrooms that create indelible impressions that last for a lifetime. I believe that there are about 92 secondary Jesuit schools amongst the 840,000 registered schools in India. So like majority of average Indian girls, I did not attend a Jesuit school in my growing up years. However, I had a wonderful childhood. I grew up in a household where values of honesty, dedication, discipline, to pursue anything that I would like to pursue was given more weightage over the marks that I was scoring on my mark sheet. I could feel that my parents were unique and quite different from many of my other friends' parents. No wonder. Both of them had schooling from Jesuit institutions. And perhaps this was the first time I felt the indirect effect of Jesuit influence and realized how it can touch lives in more ways than one. Now fast forward to the year 1996. This time I was lucky to make it amongst, at that point of time it was like 61 Jesuit colleges in India, and to experience the nostalgia called St. Xavier's College. Being in college, studying economics, going to room number 13 itself was an exhilarating experience for me. So on the second month of my college, I was called by one of my seniors who came to me, no, not for being ragged, because that was really not the culture, and she asked me to meet her in the room adjacent to the canteen downstairs with a couple of my friends. So I reached during the break time, right on time. I figured out the room was called NSS, and there was a lone gentleman sitting inside in a chair, and I hesitated to get in, and I chose to wait for the senior who had called me over there. So in a minute's time, the senior also was there, and she took us inside. The gentleman explained that they were looking for volunteers who could teach students, kids from the neighborhood slums after our college hours, maybe later in the afternoon. And there were also some collected materials which were kept, which had to be delivered to the Little Sisters of the Poor around the weekend. So we all agreed, and the meeting ended in about 20 minutes time, and we all rushed to the canteen for a quick lunch because we couldn't be late for class. And in the canteen, we were sitting together with the senior, so I asked, "Who's the gentleman?" I didn't know. So the senior said, "It's father." Now, I was quite new to the Jesuit framework of institutions at that point of time, so I said, "Who's father?" Because he was in trousers and shirts. So the senior muttered and said, "That's Father Felix." I could gauge, because by that point of time I was only familiar with Father Matthew and Father Eaton, who would be in their usual white robes. So that was a very foolish thing to ask, but yes, I was still confused. So what followed remains etched in my memory. So I was introduced for the first time to the treasure of selfless service in the simplest ways of Jesuit framework of education. Every evening I would see fathers taking rounds around the green bench, not to check on whether we were teaching, but to check on the fact that whether we had food after we had completed our classes and were teaching over there. So my 3 years of college, my direct association with the Jesuit fathers, the Jesuit values of pursuing human excellence with deep-rooted sense of love and justice, remain as the utmost, most empowering phase of my life. So even today when I mentor students in our social service club at IMI Kolkata, Altruist, I'm supposed to be the founding member of Altruist in IMI Kolkata, it takes me back to my college days, remembering the principles which I have internalized since then. While the direct and indirect influence of Jesuit education in building men and women of character and propagate a culture of service and solidarity has been an empowering force to shape lives of many of us, I would like to share one more personal reflection before I end. It was in my second year of college. I had fallen sick with a bad flu. No, that time we didn't have COVID, so it was just a flu. And I had missed 3 consecutive lectures of mathematics. And in those days, if you were missing 3 consecutive lectures, Professor Sen is smiling because she happened to be my professor as well. So if you were missing 3 consecutive lectures of a particular professor, on the 4th day, if you're attending the same, you were supposed to come back with an absence slip, which was supposed to be signed by the vice principal. That was quite an ordeal. Of course, so as for norms, on the fourth day, fourth class, that I was supposed to come back to the college, I was in a queue in front of Father Eaton's office to get an absence slip issued. I showed him my father's note and my diary. Okay, let me just correct. Father's note written by me, signed by him, on his way to office while he was dropping me off to college on that particular day. And Father looked at my diary note and he said, lady, you need to come back tomorrow. So I was quite perplexed. Why? But I didn't have the courage to ask Father, because those of you who are familiar with Father Eaton, you would know that no one would have the courage, forget about me, to even ask that, why do I need to come back tomorrow? So Father could gauge that I was quite confused, and he looked up to me and said that if I can check and sign dozens of absence slips every morning for students like you and others who are waiting in the queue, I'm sure your father can write the absent note by himself for his beloved daughter. I knew my mistake. I went back, and that evening I actually, made my father sit down. I spoke to him about what happened, and he was smiling because that morning he had said that, let me write it, but the car was moving, so I made it a point that I write it and he just signs it while he was dropping me off to college. And I returned the next day. So this was a funny incident. But what I inculcated was the true spirit of authentic leadership and the whole purpose of how authentic leadership can drive the best in each one of us. Interestingly, I have had the opportunity to experience the influence of Jesuit education as a kid, having parents and grandparents who had their early education in Jesuit institutes, as a student attending a Jesuit college, and now, even as a parent, for a son attending a Jesuit school. What I find is simply amazing, that the constancy of purpose of developing a person from intellect and imagination to a person of emotion, to a person of conscience, is what sets Jesuit education apart from other forms of education. And that's what the real essence of real education is all about. And I think that can actually take our society forward as a unified force in a country like India, where we have so much of diversity. So today, I will not take any more time and conclude by saying that I express my sincerest gratitude to all those who have shaped the person that I am today, and wish for a society where a child can grow up with the right kind of Jesuit values to be more human each day. Thank you, and wish you a great feast day. Thank you.
We are indeed blessed to hear those memorable moments from our esteemed panelists. Even Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, who has spent his early days of education at St. Xavier's, has gifted us those nostalgic moments through an immortal song, Purano she diner kotha, she ki bhola jaye, o she chokher dekha praner kotha, she ki bhola jaye. Alas, would you forget about those old days? Would anybody forget about these meetings or those intimate talks. Now it's time for our audience to connect with the dignitaries on the dais. We shall be taking few questions from the audience. You have heard them speaking. Now it's your time to, connect with the panelists. Can we have the mics, please? Can we have a question, please, from the audience? Yes. So we would appreciate if you could just kindly introduce yourself, who you are, and then you can shoot out the questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Myself, Dr. Anupam Mitra, Associate Professor, Commerce and Management. I joined just 10 days before this institution. My question is, though I am a Xaverian, but my question is how this Jesuit education can be extensively done. Though Vice Chancellor Father has explained the details, but is there any possibilities for expansion of this Jesuit education to the large masses? So if any one of the panelists could just highlight any suggestions on that front.
Definitely it's been extensively done. Not that we can take over the whole country and the whole education system, that's not possible. Because we are contributing what we can. And that's why I said there are about 200, 250 high schools run by the Jesuits. But there are thousands of them in our country. But there are steps taken by the Jesuits in different parts of the country to expand our mission, educational mission that we could, particularly to the rural sector, particularly to schools where they don't have the advantages. This is being done in different parts of the country.
Thank you, Father.
Anyone else from the crowd, if they have any question? Now, I would like to request Father John Felix Strach, Honorable Vice Chancellor, who as usual has a bouquet of surprise for us. St. Xavier's University itself is a surprise. We had a college and we dreamt of a university, and Father, as usual, has been very generous to gift this university, which is on expansion mode. So I would like to request Father to share the details of the surprise which is there in store for our faculty members.
I won't take much time this time, but I just want to acknowledge out of 5 panelists, there are 3 among us. You have touched our hearts by your anecdotes and sharing, and I'm sure that is the feeling of all of us in this hall. By your personal sharing of Jesuit influence on you, and the influence of Jesuit education on you, and the process of transformation that you have gone through, you have touched us, and that's what we want. St. Xavier's College is 160 years old, and St. Xavier's University is just 40 years old. And so we cannot expect the same impact, the same result, the same influence that St. Xavier's College has but I'm sure definitely we have learned. And this process of learning will continue, and tomorrow we will have people like you from St. Xavier's University, alumni and alumnae, who will definitely be transformed by the influence of the Jesuits and their education. I'm here to share for a few minutes of the follow-ups of the programs that we have lined up for you. As you saw in that short clip of the video, it had given us the list of programs that the committee is organizing at the university. But this one is a special one for the faculty members. Ignatius, after his conversion, we are in fact celebrating the Ignatian year, that is 500th anniversary of Ignatius's cannonball moment. And so, in this 500th year, what best we can do? Now, after his conversion, St. Ignatius went to the University of Paris for his postgraduate studies. He did a lot of research there, and he came in touch with many students, including St. Francis Xavier. And his research was focused in the field of spirituality and in the field of humanity. And his famous research manual was his Spiritual Exercises. It's a spiritual manual today recognized and accepted all over the world. And with his spiritual exercises, he also came with his own constitutions. The Constitution of the Society of Jesus has been a model constitution, a sample constitution to many, many religious societies and even countries, especially in Europe. And the Jesuit Constitution has been a model constitution for the Constitution of the Ramakrishna Mission. And if you read the constitutions of the Ramakrishna Mission, it clearly says in the introduction and acknowledges the support the Jesuit Constitution has given. St. Ignatius today is recognized as a spiritual guru. He is also recognized as the management guru. The book Heroic Leadership by Chris Loney shows this very beautifully. A comparative study, but at the same time, Chris Loney brings out how managerially and intellectually competent was the Jesuit society for the last 450 years. A society even after its suppression in 1773 and then restoration in 1814. And so such a rich society that has lived out throughout the last 500 years. Jesuit pedagogy has always emphasized research and innovation. And so St. Xavier's University is organizing an international conference for not only our faculty members, for faculty members of all Jesuit colleges in the country. And this conference invites papers from all the faculty members. The Ignatian Year, or the Ignatian Year Committee, has proposed about 15 themes for writing papers and presentation in this international conference. And I'm sure these themes, I don't need to read them, but these themes will be sent to you by Father Molin, who is the coordinator and the convener of this committee. But all the themes are related to Ignatius, his charism, his pedagogy, and his research. We invite all of you teachers. We have about 75 faculty members in this university. We invite all of you to choose one theme of your choice or a related theme and then write a paper for presentation in that international conference to be held sometime in December or January next year. More information about this conference will be given on the website, and for the Maulin and his committee members will also circulate detailed information on this conference to individual professors and to all. Social media and also other ways of publicizing this conference will be taken place. We expect that every faculty member, teacher of this university takes an initiative to contribute. And at the end of the conference, we plan to put together all the papers and publish a book as an outcome of this international conference and also as an outcome of the Ignatian year. And I welcome all of you to participate in this and cooperate and give your full support to the Ignatian Year Committee that is taking up this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father, for giving us another opportunity to understand the essence of Jesuit culture and imbibing those values for our personal growth and development. These activities may be my account of cannonball moment. We have almost come to an end of this wonderful celebration. I would like to urge Father Molin Fernando to propose the vote of thanks. Father Molin Fernando, please.
When the dignitaries were speaking, what came to my mind was one line from Bengali, that is Purano Shri Dine Kotha, and that is what exactly it was ringing in my heart and mind when they were speaking. If I summarize what they have been saying for the last 2 hours, in Jesuit term it is called a fire kindles the other fire, and the fire was put in their hearts, and in turn we could see that fire is lit and they have come to lit in us. And it is an inspiration as well as it is a challenge for all the faculty members, for all of us, to shape up the students who are given to us so that they would become the panelists for tomorrow, those who are sitting on the dais today. With this note, I would like to propose the vote of thanks. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Reverend Father John Felix Raj S.J., Honorable dignitaries on the dais, the entire Xavierian family of St. Xavier's University. Alice Walker said once, "Thank you is the best prayer that anyone could say." I say that one a lot. Thank you expresses extreme gratitude and humility and understanding. I am honored to have the opportunity to express one such prayer for all of you. I would like to thank Honorable Minister Javed Ahmed Khan for inspiring note. You have shared what touched you most in the Jesuit education. In your leadership, the art of Jesuit tradition is visible. Thank you, sir, for joining us today and adding joy to the event. I am inspired to thank Mr. Jawahar Sirkar for your availability and personal sharing. Sir, your words were creative, thought-provoking and challenging. Thank you, sir, for your concern and love. In gratitude, I fondly remember Dr. Amit Kosh, who is committed and compassionate, while he was explaining how the Jesuit education has influenced and made a deep impact in his heart to serve the poor and the needy, even at the difficult moment of Corona. Thank you, sir, for your esteemed presence among us. Let us give them a big hand. It is said, it is the supreme art of a teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge, said Albert Einstein. I am indebted to Dr. Panchali Sen for your contribution to our panel discussion, inspiring and enriching, and encountering us with a lot of deep insights from a personal note of gathering the fruits of your experiences during your teaching career at St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. Thank you, ma'am, for your esteemed presence. Let us give her a big hand. It is said you are the best teacher because you brought out the best in us. I suppose your students could echo these words of appreciation. Dr. Ritupurna Basu, your sharing has enabled us to cherish your memory with the Jesuits and their contribution to your growth and development. We are grateful to you for your esteemed presence. Ma'am, thank you. Let us also give her. I am extremely thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Father John Felix Raj, for his introductory note to mark the occasion and invited us to journey together during this Ignatian year. And when the committee members met him, he gave us full freedom to design a year-long program of various types for the students, faculty members, and together for all the Xaverian community here at St. Xavier's. Father, thank you very much for your support and encouragement. Let us give a big hand to him. I am grateful to Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Reverend Dr. Father Sebastian Raj, and the Jesuits in St. Xavier's University for your support and encouragement in all that we do. Thank you, Fathers and Brother Christo. Thank you very much. I am humbled by the presence of respected Registrar Professor Ashish Mitra, Dr. Indrakant Maitra, Controller of Examination Dr. Tugin Pal, the Assistant Registrar. I am grateful to all of you for your support and presence here. I am also extremely privileged to have our beloved deans, heads of the department. We remember you with gratefulness. Thank you. We thank Brother Christo, Mr. Manoj, Mr. Musarraf, Mr. Raju, housekeeping members to arrange this hall with the best sound system. We thank all of you for your efforts. I would like to thank Mr. G.P. Gupta, Mr. Mario Luis, Mr. German, Mr. Sudeep, Mr. Malay, Mr. Benedict, and Mr. Sandeep for your constant support and your committed works. We remember you with gratefulness. I would like to thank Dr. Father Susan Ayagam S.J., Dr. Father R.O. Kesami, Professor Shain Saha, Professor Manalika De for their contribution to make this event as successful. I would like to also thank Dr. Manali and the MassCom students for helping us in making posters and the video that has been played today. Thank you. I remember all the faculty members who are present here with gratefulness for your gracious presence, and thank you. I would like to also thank all the non-teaching staff for your coming and your presence here and now in this hall, and we appreciate your presence. I would like to thank all the Ignatian Year Committee members who have contributed to the success of this program and the programs yet to come, and those who are working behind the curtain to make the year-long program a successful and memorable one for us. A big thank you to all of you. And at the end, I would like to also remember all our guests who have come. Thank you for joining us to make this event a successful. Thank you. Now I would like to invite all of you to stand for the Ignatian Anthem.
Thank you, Father. We have a cake cutting, as you know that today is the feast of St. Francis Xavier. May I request all the fathers to please come on stage for the cake cutting. May I request all the fathers to please come on stage for the cake cutting, because it's your day and we want your gracious presence on the stage. So in the meantime, we get the things ready. Let us all practice the feast day song which we intend to sing for our priest. We wish you a happy feast day. We wish you a happy feast day. We wish you a happy feast day and a happy feast day. We wish you a happy feast day. We wish you a happy feast day. We wish you a happy feast day and a happy feast day and a happy feast day and a happy feast day. We wish you a happy feast day and a happy feast day. Can we have a big round of applause for all the fathers? Thank you, Father. Thank you. Thank you. So when the dignitaries are leaving, kindly rise.